The Federal Aviation Administration has banned the use of commercial drones, though the agency is drafting proposed rules at the behest of Congress. However, a small number of companies, such as the film companies Aerial Mob and Healy Video Productions, do have FAA exemptions to use drones.
What are your thoughts on consumer drones?
I think they're a fad. I think they're like the hula hoop and the yo-yo, and that they're probably going to go away. I think there's a lot of interest in them now because they're unique. They provide a lot of capabilities. But I think over the next few years that fad will fade, and there'll be certain segments of the community that continue to use them, photographers. But I think as a whole, the interest that people have in them will probably die off pretty quickly.
An incident at the White House is once again raising major concerns about security at a building that, of course, is supposed to be among the most secure on the planet. This time it was a small drone that breached the airspace above and crashed right onto the White House grounds.
I think it was an irresponsible use of a technology that's real promising. Everything that I've been able to glean about it is that the individual was intoxicated, was operating it at night in an irresponsible manner, very close to a very sensitive U.S. icon. So I think it's pretty disappointing, especially considering that he apparently worked in the intelligence industry and should have known much better than that.
Drones are not all fun and games, as recent incidents show. Drone use is a growing problem, but why?
I think there's the potential conflict with manned aircraft if the UAS are used irresponsibly, having a mid-air with a manned aircraft, especially with someone who isn't familiar with the airspace and operates them in close proximity to an airport. There's a potential of people misusing them to invade the privacy of others, even to a criminal degree of trying to be a peeping Tom in bothering people like celebrities, paparazzi utilizing small UAS to take photos of what normally would be private gatherings, utilizing the UAS to facilitate that photo taking.
If these drones are so bad, why don't we just outlaw them entirely? The answer? Because they're useful.
Cost effectiveness for one, particularly in law enforcement. Nationwide, there's over 17,000 local law enforcement agencies, but less than 200 of them have manned air support units. Well, those other 16,800 probably would like to have manned air support units, but their budget won't support it. So being able to utilize a small unmanned aircraft system, even though it wouldn't be able to do as many of the missions of a manned air support unit, would be beneficial. So cost is probably the number one desirable aspect of small UAS. Photography is definitely one. Now in order for a photographer to get aerial photos, it's a rather expensive proposition to charter an aircraft and the aircraft to be configured properly where they can take good quality photographs from it. Things that are dangerous or boring. One of the examples that's pretty iconic in the use of small unmanned aircraft was the Fukushima nuclear plant disaster in Japan when the tsunami flooded the nuclear plant. They had steam escaping from the plant that they felt had radioactivity enclosed within it. They were able to utilize a ScanEagle medium-sized UAS with basically a Geiger counter in the nose of the aircraft to fly through that plume. That's something that we would never want to expose people to because of the radioactivity and the cancer risk. A small sheriff's department like we have here in the Grand Forks area, searching for a lost person or taking photos of a traffic accident scene to help investigate it, or a major crime scene to help investigate it and paint a picture to a judge or a jury about what happened.
Or do you think more needs to be done?
I don't think they've been restricted to people that use them commercially at all. And you have to look at a lot of individual states. There's about 18 states that have enacted laws. There are no federal statutes, although many of them have been discussed in Congress. None of them have been signed into law by President Obama. So are they restricted to commercial use and private use? No, all of them avoid that. They only, other than about 2 of the statutes, they all address government use of unmanned aircraft systems. which is really kind of counterintuitive because there's only about 12 of us utilizing unmanned aircraft systems. We have extensive policies and procedures. We're subject to great oversight by the public. The FAA has great oversight over us. So there are lots of watchdogs watching government. There's nobody watching your next door neighbor who's flying a drone in the backyard. Yet these laws avoid trying to address that at all. And that's where I think the true privacy risk comes from, is people in the general public misusing them.